plenty of comments coming in. Let me run through a few and get your take on it. Marzuno says Rodgers could test himself in Spain, get 20 million a year in Saudi, a jolly in MLS. I'm surprised he didn't chuck it this morning. Mad Fox says the board have embarrassed themselves. More importantly, they've embarrassed the club. The league is wide open now, and this team couldn't get through the Conference League, never mind the Europa. Paul says Rodgers and the board have to be removed. This happens every transfer window. Remember, he was the one that wanted Ida at all cost, and totally agree with Sutton. This should never have been allowed to happen. Stephen says in August and September 2014, so more than 11 years ago, Peter Lawwell repeatedly stated that every penny of the club's revenue would be reinvested back into the team. Never should a club have 80 to 100 million pounds collecting interest. Robert says the Celtic board are forcing Rodgers out. They want a manager who won't rock the boat and they can control. Rodgers had given the board 10 players at £1 million each. He either brought them all in. And just finally on Rodgers, Ryan, Marzuno again says Ida can't leave unless we get a replacement in. Rodgers did say that. I think he said it at Ibrox after the game. He's had his legs totally cut off now. I mean, totally undermined.
Yeah. Well, we said it on Friday. And then he might have re-emphasised it again at Ibrox. But I think the tables have really turned. I know Brendan Rodgers has said there's absolutely no chance that he's going to leave Celtic before the end of his 3-year contract. But it's just been completely undermined. Like 72 hours prior to Adam Ida being sold, he said that he can't be sold without any replacements in the door. And I actually asked Brendan Rodgers, I was there on Friday, if Ida's sold, if he would like two strikers in.
Oh, that's right.
He smiled and said yes. I think he knew at the back of his mind that there was very little chance that would have happened. But for Brendan Rodgers to come out and be so firm on his stance with Adam Ida, only for him to then be sold and there to be no replacement or replacements in the door, I really do think he's been undermined, and it'd be, I'm sure it'll be one of the first questions that will be asked at this first press conference after international duty, how he feels about that. Yeah, they might get Iheanacho in and Bamford in, but are they really the quality that Celtic should be striving for? Are they really the qualities that they've been looking for since January to replace Kyogo, who, by the way, is still not been replaced? They're kind of scraping the kind of bottom of the barrel now in free agents and players who have struggled in the last 2 years. And I mean, you look at Iheanacho, he actually rejected Celtic in January for Middlesbrough. And now we're going back with the begging bowl, asking him if he fancies another crack at it.
And just incidentally, I've got a lot of family that are Middlesbrough season ticket holders. They live in Middlesbrough, and spoke to them last night. And without being unkind, they were saying he was like a figure of fun at Middlesbrough. Like he was the worst player. He would get ironically jeered when he get pulled off, and he didn't look interested. He would just jog about the park. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, but when he was at Man City, I think he was a prodigy, and then he joined Leicester. I think he was paid about £20 million for him. So Rodgers has worked with him. He's obviously confident he might be able to get a tune out of him. But when you look at the list of targets at the start of the summer, I'm pretty sure Iheanacho's name would have been probably at the bottom, which is why they're scrambling around trying to get him in as a free agent. And you look at it, I mean, they've sold £17 million worth of pounds of talent in Ida and Kyogo, and replaced them with a £1.5 million in Shin. And then Johnny Kenny and Callum Osmond, who Callum Osmond, hasn't even played a senior game of football yet. It's absolutely crazy. And they've lost, I was looking at some stats here, they've actually lost 73 goal contributions from last season. So you had Ida, who scored 20 goals, provided an assist, Kyogo with 12 goals and 4 assists, and then Nicholas Kuhn with 21 and 15 assists. That quality has not been replaced. And that's the buzzword that Brendan Rodgers always says, is quality. And he's right, because, again, it's nowhere to be seen this transfer window up front.
Yeah, in the comments, John says Rodgers shouldn't walk, as it only saved this incompetent board money, which they won't spend on players anyway. It's the board who needs shaking out, not Rodgers. And just before we move on from Celtic, Ryan, a couple of Rangers fans have been in touch. Rangers easy okay, friends of the show, says, what a chance for us if we can finally click and go on a run. It's a big if, but no excuses for Russell Martin. He's been back big time. This is our best chance to win the title in years. And Singing the Blues says, I think the Celtic board have gotten too comfortable with the lack of challenge. Now they're in a flap. Look, sitting here right now, I understand that Celtic have got a 6-point start on Rangers, but I mean, I guess that you would still make Celtic favourites in that regard, but I'm a lot less convinced Celtic are going to win the league than I was last week or a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Rangers, they must be kicking, Russell Martin must be kicking himself that they've managed to fall 6 points behind so early in the campaign. But do you know what? That lead can be wiped out in 2 games. That's the way that Rangers have to look at it. 2 defeats for Celtic and 2 wins for Rangers in the back and level points. So I don't even think Celtic or Brendan Rodgers will even be looking at the league table this early in the season. And you could probably flip that and say the same for Rangers. You know, there's still a long road ahead. Celtic are undeniably weaker. Rangers, you've got to say, with the amount of money it's been spent, must be stronger. You know, they've spent more than 2 strikers and Celtic have the entire window. So that kind of tells you all you need to know. Rangers have shown their ambition and they've backed Russell Martin to the hilt. Now it's really down to them, to Russell Martin, to get a tune out of them and for Rangers to produce. The fans must believe that there's a real chance. This is probably the biggest chance they've had and definitely since 2021 when Stephen Gerrard won the title. To end Celtic's dominance. And I tell you what, Hearts and Hibs.
Well, Graham Snedden in the comments, Graham says dismissing Hearts, the arrogance, and he's kind of laughing. But look, if there was ever going to be a season where something like that would happen.
No, I definitely don't dismiss Hearts at all. Or Hibs, you know, I know Hibs drew at the weekend, but you know, Hearts are joint top of the table with Celtic 4 games in. They've spent wisely. They've got a brilliant manager at the helm. I mean, and obviously Tony Bloom has set out his ambitions for Hearts to win the title within the next 10 years. It can come a lot sooner the way Celtic are doing their business, and obviously Rangers are investing significantly as well. So, you know what? It could be a 3 or 4 way title race, 3 or 4 way title race this season. So we'll just need to wait to see what happens. But yeah, I don't think other clubs will have a better chance to stop Celtic in this season.
Just, I know I said finally a minute ago and then I'll come back to it, but I know I'm asking you how long a piece of string is, Ryan, but do you think Rodgers will consider walking away after last night's shambles?
I mean, as I said, I think this is the fact he's been undermined publicly on other media. I think that's personally, I think that may be a game changer in the back of his mind.
I agree.
You know, he's obviously said there's no chance he's going to leave. He's come back. He's probably repaired his reputation with the fans, or 90% of the fans. He's won titles. He's won trophies. He took Celtic far in Europe. His mission when he came back was to make Celtic a force, or at least competitive again in Europe. He did that by taking them to the Champions League last season. They were in a position of strength to build, and now it's a case of 1 step forward, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 steps back this season. They've downsized, they've assets stripped, and they're quite frankly a shadow of the side that went toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich. So I've said it kind of all summer. What incentive does Brendan Rodgers have to extend his contract beyond next season? I don't think he has any now. He said as well about he's not here to maintain. Celtic aren't even maintaining. They're going backwards, and Rodgers he's an elite manager. I think he'll have too many other options to go to. You know, test himself in Spain, to test himself back down in England, or even go to Saudi Arabia and make millions, or wherever he wants to go. I think he'll have plenty of options.